What is going on, everyone? Tim Williams here. It is Sunday, January 23rd. We got 2 games left on this football weekend. What a set of games yesterday. I think ended in a lot of disappointment for two different franchises there, for Tennessee and for Green Bay. What a huge disappointing loss. I am myself a Packers fan, so that was a tough pill to swallow. Am I surprised? Not really. Disappointed? Hell yeah. But yeah, we got 2 more games to talk about here. And we're going to break them down in kind of position by position fashion here. And first, we're going to kind of look at the team totals, where it kind of opened and kind of where we're sitting at right now. And the first game I'd like to talk about here is the Rams and the Buccaneers. Kind of opened at 49.5 total, now down to 48 live total. Rams 22.75 implied live total. Buccaneers 25.25 live implied total. So Bucks are favored here. I like to check out the Vegas odds here, and Fantasy Labs does a pretty good job of kind of laying everything out in a nice like traffic light type of pattern, which is sweet. And then the second game we have to talk about is the Bills and the Chiefs. Bills kind of road dogs here in Arrowhead. Opened up at 53.5 open total, and then right now live total is at 54, so it kind of went up a little bit. Chiefs are favorited here. Bills 26.25 live implied total, Chiefs 27.75, so kind of gives you a rough estimate. Everyone's kind of equal here. I think a lot of people are going to be looking at this Bills-Chiefs game, which I do think is going to probably have a better likely outcome of just shooting out. So I definitely want to kind of focus more on that game as I'm doing my builds, but we have to be kind of creative here depending on what kind of contest you're doing. But yeah, we're mostly going to talk about GPPs here. So let's just jump right into the DraftKings page here, and we'll go kind of position by position here. So for the quarterback position, I think by far, the best option here is probably Josh Allen, maybe Mahomes. I think both quarterbacks it's just going to be a big back and forth game. No big surprise there. Tom Brady, the third most expensive here at 6,800, and then Stafford at 6,200. I don't mind Stafford in deep GPP contests. The one thing about this Rams and Bucks game is I think they're probably going to be throwing the ball a lot. There's some injuries on the defensive side for Tampa Bay. We'll talk about that when we talk about the running backs, but I think as far as like total, game script and potential outcome and implied totals, I think, right up top, Josh Allen, Mahomes are by far my 2 favorites. I really like the Bills here on the road. The biggest thing with those 4 quarterbacks here is that Josh Allen has his legs and he's going to use them. He's going to run. The Bills didn't forget about last year. 6, 5, 15, 12 rushing opportunities. If there's an opening, he's going to take it. So I like Josh Allen as far as like upside goes. And then, yeah, so that's kind of like my take on these quarterbacks. Brady, Stafford, I think more contrarian. I think this game in general is a little bit more contrarian in general. I think all 4 are fine options, right? If you need to save a little cash, but I'd rather save a little cash in some other positions. Running back, everyone's kind of priced this about the same over on DraftKings. It's a little bit different on FanDuel, but really, really like Singletary at the top at 5,900. That is just too cheap. All these running backs are too cheap. Granted, some guys are coming back from injury, so maybe DraftKings didn't really know that, didn't really price that in their algorithms there. So we'll start with Singletary. I think he's far and away maybe one of the better running back options in this 2-game slate. They're really just kind of giving him the ball. They're saying, hey, you are the guy. He scored like 8 touchdowns in like the last, 6 games or whatever like that. 2, 1, 2, scored a receiving touchdown in that game. Just very consistent lately. I think you're likely going to see somewhere between 15 and 25 rushing attempts. He's going to get some targets. I think he's a very skillful player in this game here, kind of a wild card. I think he's just too cheap for what the work he is going to be getting. Fournette off the injury reserve, he's going to be super, super popular, 5,700. Ronald Jones is out, so Fournette expected to take the bulk of the workload here. So really like Lenny there. Obviously, he's going to be highly owned, right? If you're playing some like lower end contests as far as like how many people are in your contest, I think he's kind of like a cash game lock as well. Cam Akers is an interesting one. I think he's going to be pretty popular. Initially, I had some interest in him before coming into today at 5,500, but with Lenny coming off the IR for only $200 more, Singletary, $400 more, those two guys are guaranteed more work. Akers going to kind of probably split some time with Sony Michel. Don't really recommend Sony Michel here. He has been getting his attempts, so maybe in some of those deep GPP or Millie Maker type of contests, he would be interesting, but it's really hard to bite on that price. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is back, is healthy. He is expected to have some sort of timeshare or a snap count. So don't really have tons of interest there, but he's always in the mix to vulture some touchdowns away from some of these Kansas City Chiefs options. Bills defense, super, super tough. So that's going to be a fun game to watch. Bernard at 5K, like you're not really getting that price discount off of playoff Lenny. So it's really hard to get to Bernard, even though I like him a ton. Henderson on the IR. Another interesting value play, McKinnon. If obviously Clyde Edwards-Helaire isn't going to get the full workload today. So really like McKinnon here at that price at 4,800. He's going to be kind of seeing a lot of targets here in the backfield. I think they're going to have to be creative against the Buffalo Bills defense, who is just pretty much, top three in everything. And then it kind of gets a little bit thin after that. Vaughn might get some work there behind Lenny at 4,700. That's a little bit too pricey. Moss, just not interested in any of the rest of these guys along the way. Talking about receiver here, Cooper Kupp, obviously the big pay up option there. We all know what he can do. Mike Evans is going to be Brady's number one target. These guys are for sure in play. Kupp, I think he's the most talented. He's the best receiver on the board here. However, he's just too expensive. So I don't know what that will do with his ownership. I do think the Rams are going to pass the ball a ton, which makes me a little bit less interested in Cam Akers, although he is very explosive, and the Bucs have a lot of injuries on that front line, which I guess maybe would make Akers a little bit more contrarian to Lenny and stuff. It's just hard to get to with the price, right? It's almost like a free square when Lenny's 5,700 and Singletary's 59 with the work that he's getting. But back to the receivers. Mike Evans, I think he's very much in play. He's got Tom Brady throwing to him. Yes, I know the Rams can shut it down, so that is kind of scary. Tyreek Hill, he's been kind of banged up a little bit last couple of games, just really hasn't really hit his ceiling in, I guess, the last 4 weeks or so. So it's going to be, an interesting fade if you're into that. Stephon Diggs would love to pair with Allen. Really don't mind pairing Singletary and Diggs, Allen together. Singletary, has been getting some work via the pass. So it's kind of interesting there. Odell Beckham, far too cheap for what he's been doing. He's been scoring a lot of touchdowns lately. 3 touchdowns in his last 4, and then you missed a touchdown there, and then 3 in a row right there. So I don't know. He's getting a lot of work. So obviously a lot of interest in Odell Beckham for the price. I'm sure the ownership will be there. Gabe Davis, I definitely rank him a little bit higher than Beasley, and DraftKings has kind of, priced that accordingly. Van Jefferson, I think, is a low contrarian GPP mix, but I just don't think he's going to get all that ton of work. But all it takes is one play, right? Hardman, I think some of these secondary Kansas City receivers are definitely by far in play. I like them over some of these other guys like Beasley, Sanders. Like Hardman, I think gets a ton of work. 4 targets, 11 targets. I mean, there's some upside there. Johnson for the Bucs, probably going to be, the second WR2 on this team, if you're not including Gronkowski at the tight end position. I don't think he's going to, blow you away, but at 3,700, I think he could easily, get 5 to 7 targets and pay that price tag right off. My favorite GPP sleeper in this whole Sunday 2-gamer here is Isaiah McKenzie. They're feeding him the ball a little bit more than usual. Price is still at 3,500. He's kind of I'm not comparing him to Deebo Samuel, but he's kind of been relied on a little bit more later in the season and into the playoffs. He's getting some targets here. When he did get a starting role, he caught 11 for 12 targets. The guy has blazing speed. He's kind of a game changer, kind of a wild card. He has some rushing attempts under his belt. So if any sort of trick play were to happen, I think McKenzie surely will be involved. So he's my favorite sleeper there. Demarcus Robinson, I don't mind here. Scotty Miller, probably my least favorite kind of sneaky GPP play. So he's probably off my list, but love McKenzie, love Robinson. and then Johnson in that order as far as like deep sleepers. Tight end position, not really too expensive here. Kelsey at 6,500, Gronkowski at 58. Gronk always a big threat in the red zone here. Kind of like him if you're not taking Evans. I wouldn't necessarily take both of those guys because you're really just going to need Tampa Bay to go off there. But Knox, I think, is probably maybe the highest upside on this entire 2-game slate. Kelsey, I think, gives you a really relatively safe floor there. So it's whatever you can really stomach here. Not great here. Higbee seems to play pretty much every snap, so I really don't mind him at all at 4K. I don't know how popular he's going to be. Maybe he'll be just slightly under-owned for the work that he has been getting. He certainly can find his way into the end zone, so don't mind getting to him either. And then, yeah, as far as defense goes, whatever you got left over. Like, I just don't think – I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this one. If I were to lean a defense, sure, I prefer maybe the Rams and then maybe the Bucks, but it's really tough to say. I mean, all these teams can put up, 30, 40 points here. So I don't even hate the idea of, taking the Bills just to save some salary and even taking some of these, Kansas City guys, obviously. My favorite guy being like Kelsey for sure, being that, Tyreek Hill is a little bit banged up, but that'll do it. That is kind of my take on this little 2-game slate. Hope you all liked it. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and good luck. Have fun. Drink some beers, drink some waters, drink some seltzers. Enjoy your day. Good luck. Peace out.